This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 652 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Today's tip is brought to you by EquestrianCollections.com. A world of choices delivered right to your door. Hi, Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is about rider position and its global effect on your ride. It is an excerpt from episode number 158 of the Dressage Radio Show. Reese, Koffler-Stanfield, and Olivia, LaGoy-Weltz tell us how they help their students gain and maintain a correct position, whatever level they're riding at. But before we get to today's tip, let's hear from today's sponsor, EquestrianCollections.com.
Hi, Glenn, back with you from the Horse Radio Network. I'm here with Debbie with the Equestrian Collections Product of the Week.
This week I want to talk about the Tough Rider Lady Starter Back Zip Field Boots. That's a lot of words to say the starter field boots. These have been around a while, but these new ones, I'm telling you, I saw some the other day that you cannot tell them from leather. They just look exactly like leather. And for the price, we're talking, $75 for a pair of tall boots. And the sizes are very generous as well. So if you're looking for a starter boot, one for trail riding or one if you're not quite sure what you want to move forward into the more expensive
for teenagers
boots,
that are still growing at about 2 inches a day.
Yeah, these boots are amazing. They just look exactly like leather boots. And also, we also have them in children's sizes, and we also have them in paddock. But I'm featuring the field boots because I was just amazed when I saw them.
Now, there's a size chart on the website, because that's always a tough thing with tall boots is the calf sizes and everything.
It is. Now, the way you measure for tall boots, you measure around the widest part of your calf, and it's important that you have the riding pants and socks on that you will be wearing with your tall boots to get an accurate size measurement. So be sure and measure that, and this particular boot has more generous sizings than I have seen in any kind of synthetic boot. So if you're looking for a nice, easy field starter boot for whatever reason, or if you want them for trail riding, this is an excellent one to look at.
All for under $75, and you can find it at EquestrianCollections.com. Just search for Tough Rider Lady Starter Back Zip Field Boot.
And now, on with today's tip.
The importance of a rider's balance, especially when we're talking about the rider's shoulder, hip, heel alignment. So talk a little bit more about what we're looking for in a dressage rider, and then we'll talk some about some of the things that we see as trainers.
Okay, great. Well, I guess I just want to start out by saying that one of the most important things about position for riders of all ages and levels and everything is that it not only, is an aesthetic thing about how you look, it also is what gives you confidence and can give your horse confidence. Your ability to keep yourself in balance really dictates your ability to help keep your horse in balance. So, it's easy to also get overwhelmed by it, but you basically want to make sure that you keep in mind if you're riding by yourself, and I do this all the time, which is, when you go by the mirrors, if you have them, that you look, and you can do this in the halt, you can do this in the walk, trot, canter, whatever you're most comfortable with, is that you really want to make sure that when you look in the mirror that your shoulder is over your hip or your seat bone, and that your heel is underneath your seat bone. And on the inside leg, it's going to be a little bit, more forward in the canter when you're on one lead or the other. But that's your most basic, and that your hands are low and centered. And that gives you a really good jumping off place from it, and it keeps it very simple. The other big mistake that you can make about position, you can go one of two ways. You can not think about it enough and not sort of realize your influence on the horse, or you can think about it too much and you can forget to relax and enjoy your ride. And I can definitely say that I've been or had students that go to both extremes. Either they're paralyzed by thinking about it too much, or they're not aware enough of where their body is and what it's doing to the horse.
Yeah, I think that's really a common thing. I think we all, even as riders and trainers, we're always constantly looking to make sure our position is correct. So, Olivia, I mean, what are some things that you like to use with your students to help correct that balance? Do you do lunge lessons? Do you do, how do you work with that?
Lunge lessons are great if you have a good horse, for sure. They're hard to come by sometimes. What I do personally, or what I like to do with students, again, if you have a trustworthy, appropriate horse, is working without stirrups. I know it sounds like very European, very sort of Nazi, but working without stirrups in all gaits is probably one of the best ways to just simplify things and work yourself down into the saddle. A lot of us suffer from having too tight a hip, and working without stirrups can really help you let your leg drop down. That's not to say that you should be riding 5 stirrup holes longer than where you actually are, but you can use it as a way to drop your leg down and get your hips softer and figure out how to get your thigh on the horse and sit more deeply in the saddle. I don't mean like grinding into the saddle, because I think that's a common misconception when someone says sit deep, that you don't sit hard, you just sit adhered to the horse. So probably a couple of the things that I would say that you see one or the other is people leaning either too far back and putting your feet out in front of you and water skiing. That's really typical on actually 2 different types of horses, either horses that are lazy, people want to sit back and drive too much, or horses that actually pull, people will put their feet forward and sort of lean back and try and keep the horse from pulling them. But they don't realize that it actually makes it worse when you do that. Those are a few things that I try and help students keep in mind.
No, I think those are really helpful, and it is European, but I'm sure you and I spent years riding without stirrups, and we also spent a lot of time in Germany on a lesson horse without stirrups on the lunge line. So I think those are some great ways. We also I have students that also say, well, sometimes we don't have mirrors and I can't see what I'm doing, and I always tell them a friend or a husband with a video camera standing behind you can show you a lot, because sometimes I think when you make changes in your position, you can't. It maybe feels like you're overcorrecting, especially with the rider leaning forward. You tell someone to lean back and they think their hat's going to touch the horse's rump, and you haven't changed that much. So changing your balance can be challenging, and I think having someone, if your instructor is there, but even if you're, you don't have an instructor, or it's just a great visual, a video camera can make all the difference, I think, just to show you where you are and what you need to do. So I guess another...
Sure. And I would say videotape, even if you do have mirrors, I know that you see a lot of different things when you have to go back and watch yourself on camera. I definitely sometimes have to force myself to watch myself ride, because it's always different than what you see in the mirrors as well. The other thing about being videoed is that, the one thing you can't see in the mirror is yourself from behind, and you'll see a lot about if you're straight side to side on the horse. You don't want to be slipping off laterally or dropping one shoulder or collapsing one rib cage. So having someone video you from behind as well is extremely helpful and insightful.
Absolutely. And I think the thing about position is you're constantly working on it. Working on your alignment. Even if you ride Grand Prix and you ride, 8 horses a day or whatever, position is something that we're constantly working on. So it's never really a finished product.
No, never. I am definitely right there with you on that. And some horses are going to put you in a slightly different position. You really have to within the bounds of, sitting up straight, with, a straight back, not overarched, not collapsed, finding that happy medium. You also have to find what works on your horse. Some horses need you in just a little bit more of a chair seat. Some horses need you extremely up and down with your leg. It will have to do also with, you and your horse and what body type you have.
Exactly. Well, Olivia, thank you so much for coming on to do a trainer's tip. I hope you will come back again because this is really helpful. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to pull my stirrups tomorrow and work on it myself. It's a good reminder for us all. So thanks so much for coming on.
Well, there you go. If you enjoyed Reese and Olivia's chat, and who wouldn't, you can tune into the Dressage Radio Show every week at dressageradio.com for all the news, stories, and results in the dressage world. You can also find lots more tips about becoming a better rider at horsetipdaily.com. Just go to the topics drop-down menu on the left. Don't forget to support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily because they make these podcasts possible. Today's podcast has been brought to you by equestriancollections.com, where you can find some awesome field boots. Please stop by the Horse Tip Daily Facebook page and let us know what you think of the tips you hear on the show. It's also a great place to tell us about topics you'd like to hear us cover on the show. You can subscribe to all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network through iTunes or Zune and get your horse podcasts automatically downloaded to your iPod, Zune, or MP3 player. You can also listen to the shows right on Facebook. The player's right there every day. I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, go ride your horse! The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.